Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of TACoS Tuesday, typically with Vince, but we've got Vince and Mina today. How you doing, Mina?
Amazing. It's Tuesday, so we're just getting started.
It is Tuesday. It's TACoS Tuesday. So thank you guys for joining us again. We do these bi-weekly PPC Ask Me Anything sessions here at Helium 10. We're bringing you a little bit more production value this year by having guests on such as Mina. And for those of you who are just joining us, who are new to this series, the reason that we call it TACoS Tuesday is because we're talking about total ACoS, not just the food, tacos, which are amazing, but we actually try to promote total ACoS as much as possible, since that is a metric that you do get with our PPC management tools. And for people that want a deeper insight into that, most of you know, if you're running PPC, you know what ACoS is. ACoS is simply your PPC spend divided by your PPC sales. Well, we do know that PPC affects your organic sales eventually because of the branding effect. So we like to look at your PPC spend and divide it by your total sales, organic plus PPC sales. And that'll give you your total ACoS or your TACoS metric. And that is why we call this series TACoS Tuesday. So for those of you that have joined us before, you've sent questions before, we do have an AMA email. It's ppcama@helium10.com. So if you guys are out there, you're watching one of these episodes and you have questions that we don't answer, you can use that email and send it to us ahead of time, or topics that you'd like to see us do. 2 weeks ago, we did a beginners PPC session. So it was all about, what campaign types are what. Like, this is what it looks like in Amazon. This is what it is in Seller Central. And this is how you create it. So it was a great session. And then this session is going to be more intermediate to advanced session. And what we're going to do is answer a few questions that some came through, that email right there that you guys just saw. We're going to answer some questions from that to let you guys know that we're paying attention. And then I'm going to let Mina kind of take over and present to you guys some information about best practices for setting up your campaigns, or campaign structures, as we like to call them. And then after that, we'll just basically do open question, Q&A, AMA style. So you down with that, Mina?
Yep, I'm down. Let's do it. I'm ready.
Cool. All right, let's get some of the questions queued up first, so we can get those done, and then we'll move on to the content part. So these are either you or me can answer these, Mina.
Cool.
How many campaigns?
It'll be cool because maybe we have different answers. So I like that.
We might. We might actually. That's true.
So Valerie asked how many campaigns to run on individual campaign and which types. So my answer is going to be all types and as many as you can, as long as you're not duplicating any of the keywords or product targets, and as long as they're getting impressions. I've also noticed that sometimes, I'll have like a campaign that's like stale, it's not getting any impressions, and I'll like archive it and take what's in it and restart it in a new campaign, and it, comes back to life. So, that's the answer, my answer.
Yeah. If you guys are brand registered, definitely take advantage of sponsored brands and sponsored display campaign types.
Oh, yeah.
If you're not brand registered, make sure you're taking advantage of all the sponsored product types. That would be, your auto campaigns, your manual keyword campaigns, your ASIN-based product targeting campaigns. And actually, one of the things that Mina is going to go over is how to create those campaigns, best practices, those structures. So this will be a good one for you then, Valerie. So let's take the next one. What's the best way to structure PPC for a project similar to Project 5K? Lifestyle family.
What's Project 5K?
Project 5K is, I think, something that Bradley is working on. It's his newest kind of like Project X. Mm-hmm. If I'm
he wants to like do the whole thing for 5K.
Probably, yeah. I wish I actually knew more about what Bradley is doing. That would probably be helpful. But actually, to be honest, lifestyle.family, the best way to structure your PPC is what we're going to actually show you. So this is another great question for you guys. Mina's going to go over that. And then we'll also, again, if you're brand registered, then you're going to want to also include sponsored brands and sponsored display, which we can kind of get into, for you guys as well. Let's see. I see just two more. One from Faith Yates. Yeah, that's a great one. Which strategy do you evaluate the various PPC campaigns? Do you have a pattern? So this is probably like kind of like an optimization question. Like, what's the strategy for optimizing? What's your first? Where do you start, Mina?
Okay, so I have obviously two types of generally two things, right? The campaigns that I don't care how much they spend, or to a certain extent, because of ranking. I'm doing maybe I'm trying to rank for a keyword. I'm doing a search find buy on it. There's something is happening where I want to to pump money into that keyword, and then the other campaigns. So the way that I evaluate the different PPC campaigns is if it is one that's like protected. For example, like electrolyte powder. Electrolyte powder, I don't think has ever dropped under 90% Acos for me ever. Right. It's a main keyword, very high search volume, but it results in a lot of my other keywords like ranking. So I keep spending on that. So identifying those ones, and then the other strategy actually that I want to mention is quickly when you go and you download the bulk sheets, click sort and filter, show only keywords and product targets, and then focus on like, let's say one product. Go into a column and do equals sales divided by, but you can't do total sales because it's you've hidden some columns. So you'll do equals sales divided by subtotals, open bracket, 9, comma, and then all of the sales, and then close the bracket. Make sure you freeze the cells for the sales, and 9 is just says it's like the sum. This will give you the percentage of sales that each keyword is contributing to your overall, portfolio for that SKU. So if you have a certain keyword, like for example, if electrolyte supplement is driving 35% of my sales, or let's say 15% of my sales, you don't want to lower that one too much because it will result in everything going down, even the organic. So that's kind of the second strategy. Now, the third strategy is a very, very simple strategy where it's like, okay, we go through the optimization. What is my target Acos? Target Acos is going to depend on which stage you are in your product launch. So for me, the first 2 months of a product launch, 100% is my Acos, or double my profit margin. My gross profit margin is my Acos. Month 3 to 6, it's 1.5 times, so around 75%. Month 9 to 12, or 7 to 12 or 11, it's around 50%, so break even. After that, I drop down like a little bit, and then after that, I drop down a little bit. Generally, I don't go lower than 35%. I'm also in supplements, so that's why I have to always be aggressive. So now that we figured out, okay, what's my target Acos, I'm going to go in for anything that's above my target Acos. I'm going to lower the cost per click by around 5 cents. If it's lower than my target Acos, which means it's profitable, I'll give it a little bit of a bump. Again, I'll bump the cost per click by a few cents. And if it's getting clicks and no sales, anything above 5 clicks and no sales, again, we'll lower the cost per click by 5 cents. And if it's anything under 300 impressions, I'll bump it up by 10 to 20 cents. Just because I wanted to get some more visibility. And if it's not spending, then what's the point? So that's kind of the how I evaluate various PPC campaigns.
So for those of you guys that want a summary of what Mina just said, what you want to do is know what your loss leaders are. Figure out the keywords that have high impressions, that have high visibility. They may not be converting for you very well, but that branding is important. It affects your organic sales. It affects the performance of even other keywords. So that's why it's more important to look at blended Acos when you're looking at a campaign. If it's got more than one keyword in it, you've got a keyword that's doing really bad, you've got keywords that are doing really good, or even if you're in different campaigns, as long as that blended Acos is at your target, then you're okay. So don't be so fearful of keywords that are maybe super high Acos if they've got a lot of impressions and they're super relevant to your product. The second thing was be aggressive with your Acos targets. That's what Mina's saying. He's like, at launch, especially 100% Acos. When you're launching a product, you're in data collection mode, right? So if your Acos target is really high and you're not turning things off prematurely, you're getting that data. So first month, first 6 weeks, especially, get that data. And one way to get that data in a tool like Ads, for example, is to use 100% ACoS, because then you're not pausing things, you're not making things negative. You're getting the data first, then you're drilling down, and then you're lowering your ACoS target. And the other thing Mina said was, if you can, we're probably gonna have to figure out a way to show your calculation sheet, Mina, but if you can figure out the percentage of sales that each of your top keywords are actually making you, which Mina gave a calculation for, if you can do that, that's awesome, because then you really kind of know.
I gave you guys the formula. Come on, you just got to listen to what I said and copy it.
He did. He gave you a formula. So you guys watch this on replay if you want to figure out, how do I gauge the percentage of sales per keyword of my top performers? 3 great strategies. We have one more question. I know I saw from Instagram. I want to make sure that we throw up there. Yeah, should we negate non-category keywords across broad, phrase, and exact? So non-category, I'm assuming these are keywords that are not relevant to your product, so they're not in your category. So yeah, if they're wasting spend, then yeah, you do want to make them negative. But we're talking 2 different things here. Keywords you don't make negative. Keywords you pause. Search terms you make negative, right? So if you've got search terms that are connecting to those keywords that are not performing for you, then yeah, you definitely want to negate those. Broad and phrase are the keywords that get search terms. So those are the ones that you would negate those search terms if they're poor performing. Exact is exact. The search term is the exact keyword. So in that sense, you don't negate the search term for the exact. You actually just pause the exact keyword. So hopefully that answers your question.
I wouldn't even pause. I would just keep lowering the bids.
Or that, yeah.
Yeah, what's the point of pausing when you can just keep lowering, and it'll eventually not get keywords. If you pause, it's a very easy way to lose track of what's paused and what's not paused, and what you launched and what you didn't launch.
Yeah, if you're being super conservative with your budget, that's the only reason I would say you might want to pause. If it's an exact keyword and it's gotten maybe over 10 clicks, over 15, over 20 clicks and no sales, that's probably not something that's going to convert if it's exact, right? But if it's a broader phrase match, there might be other search terms that are converting for you for that keyword. So you do want to pay more attention to that one. So I saw quite a few other questions come through about campaign structures. So I'm going to let Mina kind of like guide us through some slides, and we will then pick up the questions after that. So why don't you take it away, Mina?
Amazing. Okay. So I'll try not to speak too fast, because apparently I speak too fast. All right. So campaign structure, best practices. I want to, quickly say right at the beginning, I don't work at Amazon. All I have is, and that's why I always tell people test everything, because all I have is what I've tried and the results that I've gotten. And so I'm a big proponent of try, and then figure out what's working, what's not working. And all I can give you is my experience on what's working and what's not working on what I did. Okay. It does not mean that you might try something and it might, not work for you or work for you. So that's why I'm always saying try everything. These best practices are not like Amazon's best practices. They're from anecdotally from what I've done and what I've gathered, and they'll explain why they're best practices for me. So, one of the most important things, obviously, is to have really good campaign structure right off the bat. This will help you organize everything. I just want to say, right off the bat, if you didn't have good nomenclature in your campaigns and you had 3 products and you went in to bulk sheets to try and optimize, you'll have no idea what campaign belongs to what product. So it's very important to be very structured and to have a system right off the bat, and not kind of do things like, you can test a lot of things, but you don't want to not have any rules. You want to have certain rules that you can follow so it doesn't harm you in the end. You know how it is. Sometimes we make a big mess and then you're like, I wish I was clean right at the beginning. So understanding some of Amazon's PPC logic, the goal is to have as much control as possible when it comes to your spend on Amazon. So there's a lot of things that we don't have control of on Amazon, and we want to gain as much control as possible. So that's why I implement some of the things I'm going to talk about. So there's certain things that we can't control and we leave in Amazon's hands. For example, broad automatic targeting, broad keyword targeting, phrase keyword targeting, things like that. We can't, for automatic, we can't control what Amazon shows. Same with broad and phrase. However, eventually, we can add negatives in if there's certain things that are not doing well. Another thing is that we can control on Amazon is how much money is being distributed between the ad groups. So you have a campaign, which is the highest level, and then under it you have the ad groups, and think of them as like they're keyword holders or ASIN holders, and they hold your keywords or ASINs. And so those are the different levels, right? You have the campaign, and then the ad group, and then the ad. Now, if we have one ad group, if we set up $100 budget in the campaign level, and we can only set it at the campaign level right now, we can't set it at the ad group level, the money will just flow down. And that's kind of our assumption. I mean, where else is the money going to go? However, when you have multiple ad groups, we don't know where the money is going to go. We don't know if it's going to go 50-50 or if it's going to go 90-10.
Right.
Again, that's kind of in Amazon's hands. And so we want to take back that control, because if I'm setting $100 budget or a $500 budget, and I have 3 campaigns, and I have no idea where the money's going to, I could have one ad group that's not doing anything. I mean, I think that I'm targeting those 10, 20 keywords that are in there, but I'm not really, because Amazon's not sending it money. Now, why will Amazon send a keyword money or not send it money? I don't really know, but I know, somewhat the logic is, if it's going to drive you sales and traffic, Amazon's going to send it to those keywords, because at the end of the day, they make the most money when you convert. So, believe it or not, they're just not trying to drain your PPC. They are trying to convert you, because one conversion is a lot of money for them. So that's kind of what we are speculating. So for example, like I said, let's say you have a campaign with $100 budget. The assumption is 50 would go to each ad group. That's not the case. Unfortunately, we don't know how Amazon is going to send the money. So next, expectation.
It's just a visual.
Okay. Yeah.
Fancy.
So basically, it's more of the same. So this is, again, this is how a lot of people sometimes will do it. They'll have $100, and then they'll think if they have 10 keywords in each ad group, and 20, it'll go 25, 25, 25, 25, and get distributed evenly between all of the 4. But the reality is not the case. Oh, there it is. Amazing. The reality is it could do this, right? And then maybe this one won't get as much visibility, and this one will get a lot of visibility. And so again, we want to avoid like handing that control off. So since campaign budgets do not get distributed evenly, what's the solution? It's to simply have a linear model, which is campaign, ad group, and then the 10 keywords. And I'm going to cover a little bit more why I chose 10 keywords. So how much spend will each keyword get? So same with ad groups, we cannot control how much spend each keyword gets. We set the budget at a campaign level, which flows through the ad group and then goes into the keywords, and it's distributed however Amazon sees fit. So again, based on my experience, I've seen that Amazon will take the highest impression keywords because they have the highest likelihood of converting. Obviously, they have like very intricate algorithm, and they can see people's buying behaviors, all that stuff. So I can't even come close to understanding that, but I know that they see the ones that are most likely to convert into a sale, they're pumping the money in there. So now, which takes us to the next point, is how many keywords do we want to do per ad group or per campaign? So based on working in PPC and trying a lot of different things, a good number to have is between 10 to 20 keywords maximum. You can go as low as 5. I've done sometimes 1. So when I want to get really granular, I'll do 1 keyword per campaign. For 10, 15, 20 different campaigns or keywords, it's not a problem. I also have the software like I have a macro that can help me do that. But yeah. I never want to go over 20 keywords or 10 to 20.
Right.
Because after that, Amazon will just, this is what I'll see, right? I'll see the first 5 or 10 keywords are getting good impressions. And then after that, it's just dropping and not getting any impressions. And so when I first started, I was putting 100 keywords per campaign. I'm like, why not, right? I want to target these 100
That's
keywords.
Everything.
Yeah, I want to target these 100 keywords. Let's throw them in one ad group and target them all. Broad or whatever. But then it was, a small section at the top was getting everything, and everything at the bottom wasn't. And so I said, okay, now we got to get really smaller with the ad groups. And like I said, any more extra keywords won't get any impressions based on experience. So keyword budget allocation. Why all keywords in the ad group should have similar search volume. So another issue is if you take keywords that have a very high search volume and put it with keywords that have a very low search volume, what's going to happen is the high search volume will always take the budget. And again, it's based on that same logic that Amazon wants to convert you the most, and they will send all of your budget into those high search volume keywords because you have a much higher chance. So let's say, for example, for sugar-free electrolyte powder for keto, which is a really unique keyword, maybe I'll get a sale right away, right? Maybe my conversion rate is 50%. Amazon doesn't care about that. It cares about, electrolyte powder, that's going to get 20,000 eyes on it a month. So let's show that one instead of showing one that maybe is going to get 100 eyes a month, but it's going to convert 50 of those. But Amazon is not really looking at it like that, because statistically, the higher search volume has the better chance. So one campaign, one ad group, and then quantity is based on search volume. So this is now how you should structure things. Campaign 1, one ad group, campaign 2, one ad group, 3, 4, and so on. And then you can have 5 keywords high volume, 10 keywords medium high volume, 15 keywords medium low volume, and then 20 keywords low volume. And that's how I would structure the campaigns now. So you might say, hey, but I have 1,000 keywords. Yes, that does mean you will do 100 campaigns broad, 100 campaigns phrase, 100 campaigns exact. And it's only becomes an issue to manage it if you don't have a good structure. But if you have a good structure right off the bat and everything is clean and easy and your campaign has good nomenclature, you shouldn't have an issue. So
that's right.
Hopefully this was helpful. I think I'm done sharing my screen. Yep. Hopefully this was helpful. And so yeah, again, to give a quick recap, the way we're going to structure everything, it's going to be campaign, one ad group, 10 to 15 keywords max. Try and stay around the 10 mark. From there, also, side note, big budgets, small bids. Always control your spend via the bids, not the budget. Anecdotally, again, what I've seen is if you have a small budget, 10 to 15 to 20, dollars, and I see this all the time when I'm looking at accounts, Amazon logically will say, well, if your cost per click is $1 and you have $15, you can afford 15 clicks, you're not worth showing. Or not that you're not worth showing, we can't show you. You're going to go out of budget. But if you say you have a $200 budget and you have a 60-cent cost per click, Amazon will show you. They'll say, okay, let's show him as much as we can. He has a lot of money to spend. But since your bid is so low, you might show up on page 3 or page 4. And then you can kind of work your way up or down based on the data. So that's another thing to keep in mind. And then again, be very careful with the search volumes. The worst thing is, and this is the one thing that like kind of one day when I realized that, I'm like, how could I be so stupid? Is to think that you're targeting keywords, but you're not really targeting keywords because, for example, you have 100 keywords in a campaign, or you have a high search volume and a low search volume keyword. You actually think you're targeting that keyword. You say it's right here in my campaign, but it's not really being targeted because it's being bullied by this other keyword, or it's being bullied by the top keywords. So hopefully that helps.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. I want to reiterate what you said about budgets. That's the biggest mistake I see sellers making, is when things go, kind of maybe sideways with their campaigns, and their budgets start getting out of control. And one of the things they do, instead of focusing on maybe the search terms, if it's a broader phrase, to trim those down, or looking at the clicks and trimming out, pausing exact or lowering exact keywords, is they also lower their budget. So you guys, if you're aware, if you go out of stock, Amazon doesn't like that, and right now they're causing that a lot too. So a lot of you guys are having struggles with that. I'm sure it's not really your fault because of the current situation, but the algorithm doesn't like it when things go out of stock, because then it has to like recalculate everything else that's still there. So very similarly, when you go out of budget, it's almost the same. It's like you're out of stock because you're not able to spend any more on your product at that given time. So even when there's really low budgets, so basically what I've seen is sellers that reduce their budget, and then performance gets even worse because Amazon's, again, it's not paying attention to your product anymore like it maybe once was when you had a higher budget. So the key, it's a balancing act. It's like, have the high budget, get the data, trim the data down, then maybe think about reducing the budget. But to be honest, if you do a good job and reduce and cut the waste after you've got all the data, after you've gone big with your ACoS, then you probably shouldn't need to cut your budget, because you're at that point, you're probably doing pretty well. So basically what I'm reiterating here is lowering your budget is not the way to kind of control your campaign. Lowering the bids, changing the bids, making sure the keywords that you're testing are getting impressions, things like that. So the things that we mentioned. So try not to use budget as a control mechanism so much as you might be tempted to do. So that is kind of the presentation. So we have 30 minutes now for our open PPC AMA. So you guys, thanks for checking in. By the way, I forgot to mention, you guys check in from where you are. It's always great to see. We've got Romania, India, Pakistan. That's awesome. I had a really good call last week with a whole
worldwide
Israeli group last Thursday. It was pretty awesome. So yeah, you guys let us know where you're viewing us from. I know this is only Facebook this time. Typically we're on YouTube and LinkedIn too, but those are both having issues. So we're only on Facebook this time, but make sure you let us know where you're checking in from. I do want to make sure Sina Meshkar. So hopefully you got your question answered in the session, right? How many keywords you recommend in one campaign? As Mina said, no more than 20, and it depends on search volumes. So when you're looking at keywords you want to target, make sure you're looking at those search volumes, and you're grouping them into campaigns together, so that you do get all so you do actually get impressions to those particular keywords, which is the point of testing keywords, right? So if you want to see that that chart that Mina went through, this will be available on the replay. You can just watch it and maybe stop right there and check out the structures to get a reminder. I want to check out Richard's question because it's kind of related, but it's kind of not. So Richard's question is specifically about our ads platform. So say I have 100 keywords across 5 campaigns. So yeah, that's not bad. At that point, you're talking 20 keywords per campaign. On March 4th, you get recommendations through ads to modify 10 keywords. He applies them. I realize these will not be analyzed again for 10 days. No, that's not correct, Richard. They get analyzed every day. They just you don't see the results. You don't see another recommendation until day 11. So 7 days of looking at the data, analyzing the data, not including the most recent 3 days, because the most recent 3 days worth of data are pretty volatile. Mina, do you agree with that? Like when you're looking at campaigns, do you even look at the most recent 3 days?
No, I don't look at the most recent 7 days.
Really? Okay. So you look at, so when you're this is another good one for you guys. When you're optimizing campaigns, you look at if it's Friday, if it was Friday today, you would look at last week's, maybe Monday, Sunday through Saturday. Only.
I would go I go a week back. So if today is Tuesday, so I'll look at last Tuesday's data to the Tuesday before that's data.
Right.
And because that's kind of like, okay, now we're kind of settled in.
Right.
And this is also, I'm glad you brought up that point. A lot of people are very like, they just keep want to change and change and change. Yeah. You don't have in the data. It's not in front. It's it's not you're standing on a scale and you're getting a number. You're standing on a scale and then you're getting a number 3 days, 4 days later. And then you're like, oh, okay, now I should change my diet. And then you change your diet and then you stand on the scale and then you get a result another week later. So that's kind of how it works.
That's a good analogy.
Yeah, because you're not getting the results now. So a lot of times people will be like, oh my God, like my campaign spent this. I'm like, relax, it's okay. Wait and then adjust it, and then wait a bit and let the data accumulate so you can have accurate data and then adjust it again. Yeah. I mean, if you're spending $400 a day, okay, go in and adjust it. Yeah.
But if it's high volume, guys, definitely it's something you're being budget conscious. Yeah, that's something that you should maybe look into if it's spending $400 a day. But in general, if you're not doing that, if you're spending an average, $30 a day on your campaigns, doesn't matter how many campaigns there are, $30 a day each. The most recent 72 hours is not valuable. It's constantly being changed. There's sales attribution that hasn't come through yet. So you're actually not seeing sales potentially for some keywords. There's click fraud that Amazon finds, which then lowers your clicks, which then lowers your spend, which then changes your ACoS, right? So there's all kinds of things that happen within 72 hours, which is why in ads, we don't even show that. But, to Mina's point, look a week back. And that's another reason why in our ads tool, we look at a week's worth of data. Now, granted, we only discount the 3 days, but we're still on a rolling basis looking at 7 days worth of data, not including 72. So that's why it's to answer your question, Richard, you don't when you add a keyword or when you increase a bid or change a bid on a keyword, that kind of starts the clock, right? So it starts the clock, and then our tool ads knows to look at the data for 7 days, not the most recent 3 days, and then it gives you another suggestion. So for the rest of,
it needs time to accumulate the data. You made the change now. You need the change to stay in effect for 7 days, and then you're like, okay, now I have enough data to make another good suggestion.
Exactly. So what about the other 90 keywords? Will they be analyzed, or are they frozen for the next 10 days as well? Again, the clock starts when a keyword is added, changed. If it's paused, then enabled, and then paused. If it's a new keyword, that's what added means. Or if the bid has been changed up or down, right? That all those things trigger an activation. So all your keywords are being analyzed all the time, right? So if you've got 50 campaigns and you're not seeing recommendations or suggestions from our tool on a regular basis, that's a problem. If you've got 4 campaigns, not a problem. You're not going to get data every single day. Again, it needs that 7-day period, right? Minus the 3 days. And also, if you're going in manually and making changes on your own, again, that starts the clock, right? So what I see a lot of people doing is they use our tool and they're not seeing suggestions. So they're going in there and they're modifying things on their own, which is fine, but then not realizing that they're setting the clock over again, right? So you're pushing it off. So the tool will then have to include the new change that you just made, which means you're not going to see a suggestion for that keyword again until after the 10 days. So don't worry, Richard. The other keywords are being looked at. The only reason they wouldn't potentially be looked at is if you built these campaigns maybe in Seller Central, and those keywords that you put in that campaign before you came and used ads, maybe if those keywords never received any impressions, if those keywords sitting over in Seller Central never received any impressions, I think it's for 60 days, then we actually don't get the data from Amazon through the API, right? So for anything related to ads or any third-party tool out there, you guys, if you use one, it's all through a process called an API. And Amazon has certain limitations and requirements in order to send data to us through this third-party tool. So if you've got campaigns, for example, that you built 90 days ago, but it only had 1 keyword each, or it doesn't matter, multiple keywords, but none of those keywords ever got any impressions, and then you come to ads, those campaigns won't load because Amazon is looking at those and going, there's nothing here. There's no data to send to our tool through that API. So hope that's a very long answer, Richard, but I've hopefully covered all the scenarios in which you wouldn't see keyword bid suggestions, but I don't think that all of those apply to you. All right, let's see. Mian asks, if the product out of stock quickly without PPC, reason?
You have a good product.
Yeah. You've got a niche product. Yeah. Definitely order more and don't go out of stock again. All right, Richard asks, do you recommend any naming protocols for campaigns or ad groups is what he means there instead of AdWords? I actually, when I was consulting, because we would do a product campaign groups per product, I'd put the ASIN in the campaign name. So that's one thing I would do. That way, if I wanted to go in Seller Central or if I wanted to go in ads, I just can search for the ASIN and I see all the campaigns that are associated with that one ASIN. So that's one thing that I used to do, Richard. What about you, Mina?
Okay, so I have very good nomenclature. It allows me to very quickly figure out what's what. So the first thing is you need a code for every single one of your products. Now, depending on what the product is, it's whatever you want. So for me, for example, this is like Cognuro Ritual. So it's actually CNOG, which is like the first Cognuro, and then so that's the product code. For Hydrolyte Unflavored, it's HU. For Hydrolyte Blue Raz, it's HBR. And I can very quickly, the second that I see that code, the product code, I can very quickly identify what the product is. Now, if you have different sizes, maybe I have HBR 12 or HBR 30, HBR 60. If it's a 30-day or a 60-day serving, whatever. So just having a product code that will very quickly identify you, that's right at the beginning. And then I do space dash space. So that will, again, once you go into look for your campaigns, you can type in HBR and then all the HBR campaigns show up and you don't have to worry about anything else. Now, after that, I will specify what kind of campaign it is. So if it's an auto, I'll say auto. If it's a manual, I'll either say keyword or product. So or category. So those are the different types. So it's either auto or keyword or product or category. Now, after that, for keywords, I'll say is it broad or phrase or exact. So I have to definitely identify that so quickly you understand what kind of match type it is. Then after that, I'll identify where the keywords came from. So did they come from the search term report? Are they a main keyword? Are they a specific, targeting? So for example, sometimes I create campaigns just to target specific keywords. Let's say like I'm targeting snake juice. So it'll be,
snake juice.
Snake juice. It's some sort of keto. It's some sort of keto thing, apparently. But it's to get your. It's for keto and fasting to get your electrolytes in. So.
Oh wow.
Anyway, so if the keyword is snake juice, I might say targeting snake juice, just so I know this campaign is aggressively targeting one keyword, or I could call it top 10 keywords, whatever. And then at the end, I'll put like a number because obviously, if I'm pulling from the search term report, I'm pulling 500 keywords. That means 50 campaigns. So I'll just number them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then maybe next 2 weeks later, I pull another 50. It's going to be, 51, 52, 53, and so on and so forth. So that's how I do my nomenclature. And, and ad groups and campaigns have the exact same name because there's no reason they should have different names. And it keeps it unique. If I just kept it as ad group 1, for example, for everything, then you're kind of like lost in the sauce when you're looking at ad groups. But if you keep it the same name as the campaign, since it's only one ad group per campaign, it makes sense.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. So since he promotes, and actually we promote here at Helium 10 too, campaign 1 ad group, then it makes sense for those to have the exact same name. So I just put the ASIN. That was my suggestion, and Mina just gave you guys like 15 other things that you can add to your naming. So at the end of the day, it's really what's going to be the easiest way for you to locate your campaigns so that you can then see the data in blocks or in groups. Another thing you can do that's not really and nothing to do with the naming, but put things in portfolios. Amazon has that. You got access to portfolios in Amazon. Arrange your campaigns in those portfolios. You can just click on the portfolio button and then see all the campaigns. It's like a folder for your campaigns. So you can group them that way too. And in our ads tool, we have full visibility into portfolios as well. So you can see the data there all grouped together. Well, you're welcome. We're throwing golden nuggets. Thanks so much. All right. Mohit asks, my campaigns were going good earlier, but the last 20 days, they stopped giving me results. What can I do next? Unfortunately, Mohit, without actually going into your campaigns, and maybe you went out of stock. Maybe you ran out of budget. Maybe you got delisted.
You were in a honeymoon period, and then your conversion wasn't doing too well. So Amazon's like, okay, drop it down.
Describe that honeymoon period. So for sellers that might not be aware.
Basically, the honeymoon period is something we all kind of. It's again a speculative thing. Basically, in the first month or 2 months of you selling on Amazon, Amazon doesn't have enough data on your product. So it will give you a chance, an unfair chance, if I could say that. It will show you higher in the search ranks. Like you might have 5 stars, and you might be next to 1,500 and 2,000 reviews. And it's like, how on earth is a product ranking that high for a keyword? Well, Amazon wants to test to see
they're testing too.
Keyword, is this product a good product? So it will not treat you the same way as it treats other products that have been on the market a long time. It'll give you some preference and push you up and give you a chance. And so initially you might be getting a lot of good sales from that, but if you don't have a good product, if you don't maintain that sales velocity through aggressive advertising and all of that stuff, and
or if you get a lot of returns too, like if you end up getting a lot of returns of your product during that data testing period that from Amazon sees that, and they will lower your ranking, your visibility.
And honestly, with PPC, it's almost like a game of chicken. When you start, you want to go hard on PPC, and you're gonna see a lot of money lost. But you really have to show Amazon, give it that data that my product is moving at a fast velocity, even if it's not converting. Like, don't think that lowering your PPC is going to make it convert better, because that's not, Amazon's not just looking at, okay, you had 5 sessions and 3 sales. That's a really good conversion. They're looking at, we want to sell products because that's going to make them $15. If you sold 100, that's going to make them $1,500, for example, something like that, or $600. So, Amazon's going to prefer to see you sell more. So that's why it's like a lot of people are like lowering bids, lowering budgets, and like, oh my God, I'm spending too much. I'm like, hold, please hold. What are you investing? $2,000, $3,000. You want a 7-figure business. Most people here, they started Amazon because they heard you can either make $2 or $3 grand a month passively, or you can have a 7-figure business. Okay. So what is it? Having a 7-figure business, 2-3 grand a month, for 12 months, you don't want to spend a couple grand right at the beginning. It's a one-time thing. You get one chance right at the beginning to spend $2,000 or $3,000 that is all coming from your revenue anyways. You're probably just going to have to buy twice as much inventory without getting any money back from Amazon. But anyways, you don't get money back from Amazon when you first launch, because the cash flow cycle is so long. By the time you put money down to give it to your manufacturer, and then production and then Amazon gives you your money back, you already need to order again before Amazon gives you any money on the stuff that you sold. So don't worry too much about spending $2,000 or $3,000 or losing $2,000 or $3,000 right at the beginning, because it's contributing to that data that is telling Amazon, hey, this product is selling good.
So Mohit, it could simply be the honeymoon period for your product is over. Amazon tested your product against certain search terms to keywords. You did get some sales from it, but comparatively, maybe another product very similar to yours, exactly the same as yours, maybe it has a higher conversion rate, right, based on the data. So they're going to send more of the search results to that product versus yours, or show their product higher in the search results than yours. So the only things that you can do to combat
Launch
that.
More.
What's that?
Launch more campaigns.
Launch more campaigns. Make sure you're if you do have competitors, take a look at what they're doing. Take a look at what if you were used to being in a certain place and now another competitor is. Check out their listing. Is it better than yours? Does it look better? Does it tell a better story? Are the images better? So there's always things that you can do to tweak and improve your results. And I always say this, guys. It doesn't matter how good you are at PPC. If your product listing is crap, then PPC won't help you, right? So that's something to always double check, especially if you've got competitors in your space. Check out to see what are the top sellers, what do their listings look like, and don't copy and paste them. Obviously, you don't want to do that, but you definitely want to make sure that at least your listing is up to par with the other sellers in your space. Yeah. So that was a very long answer, but hopefully that helps you. All right. Mihai asks, is it okay to use CAP for all of our campaigns, or is it better to use budget per campaign?
Daily cap, I think, is what he's
referring. I think he's saying daily cap. I would say it's not budget per campaign. It's budget per keyword, right? Which
Yeah.
is what we said earlier, Mina, right?
Yeah. But settings wise, definitely don't use a cap. Don't use a daily cap. Again, remember, we're just talking about control that Amazon has. If you set a daily cap and you say, okay, $100 daily cap, you don't know what Amazon is going to allow to spend and what Amazon's not going to allow to spend. So again, you're relinquishing all control of your budgets at that point. And you can't figure out, because when you relinquish control of your budgets, you don't get any more data. You don't get any more data on what campaigns are performing well and not based on the budgets. So you just lost another data point that could help you either scale a campaign or make it more profitable or lower the bids or something. So definitely, and I've used the daily, and it'll just yeah, sure, you'll spend 100, but it'll stunt all of your sales and everything like that. From what I've experienced.
Yeah, I've seen the same thing. Let's look at Jake's question. My trusted beta tester. When you're creating your campaigns grouped by search volume, do you add those terms in the other campaigns as negative matches? So what he's asking here is basically, you've got a bunch of keywords and you're creating those campaigns. You're in each of the campaigns, you're grouping them by search volume. Do you add those terms in the other campaigns as negatives so that you only get the data potentially from the search terms to the specific campaign that you created for those keywords? What do you think, Mina?
Absolutely not. You never, if it's working, never negative it. Never, like, the only time you should ever negative something is in auto broader phrase, and you have one keyword that's triggering for a different number of keywords, and some of them are doing good and some are bad, and you don't want those bad ones to kind of pull the whole team down. Right. And you don't want to lower the bid for the whole thing because some are doing good, so you negative those bad ones. That's the only time you negative. But if I look in my search term report and keywords in the auto campaign are performing well, there's no reason at all to negative them. Just take them and launch them in the different campaign, broad phrase and exact, but don't negative them, because they're bringing you money. If you negative that, then they're not going to bring you money. And then you don't know if the broad or phrase or exact. This is one thing people assume. Electrolyte supplement is a 10% Acos in auto. If you extract it and do broad phrase and exact, definitely the exact is going to be very profitable. That's not true. You could take it, launch it, and then Amazon decides, I don't know how Amazon works, but it could be like, this product is not profitable. And then I look at this keyword is not profitable. And then I look at the Acos and I'm like, what the hell? The Acos was really good in auto. Why is it bad now that I put it on its own? But that's it. You just got to follow the data.
It's Amazon's algorithm. It's tricky, but there's no. You have a campaign. Amazon's running, especially for auto. They're in control of the search terms, so they're going to be optimizing those bids. What you're paying for those clicks on those search terms. Typically, it's going to be lower than your exact match version of the same keyword, because you have to look at it when it's in the auto campaign as a search term. Amazon's in control of that, right? So they're optimizing that. They're displaying it at certain times of the day that they know it's probably going to be the most effective. You don't know that. They know that.
Different zip codes, different cities.
Exactly. And if you pull it out of the auto campaign and make it exact, that's fine. You can test that. But when you're doing that, you're basically essentially taking a very broad bucket. So the auto campaign is pretty broad. It's Amazon doing it. Even broad match keywords. A broad match keyword is kind of a bigger bucket because there's all kinds of search terms that can be linked to that one keyword. But if you make it, as soon as you make it exact, you've narrowed down that bucket. It's just that one keyword. And there's a lot of other people that are also bidding on that one keyword only. So that's why the price goes up for it exact, because it's a narrower bucket. So the wider the bucket, the lower the CPC. The narrower the bucket, the more expensive the CPC is, right? Because of demand. So to answer your question, Jake, and I see what you're saying, because you're trying to say, I'm doing all the work of making all these different campaigns. I'm grouping them by search volume. Obviously, none of these keywords are duplicated in the other campaign. But in order to fully test this, do I want to negate those keywords in the other campaigns? And yeah, the answer is no, because you might end up getting some sales on a broad keyword in one campaign that is very similar to another campaign, but letting Amazon do that, at least to test that out, is better than trying to set up like restrictions ahead of time, like launching the campaign with so many negative keywords. That is also making it very narrow, and it's restrictive. You're restricting Amazon at that point, and the performance it doesn't perform as well. All right, CNA asked another follow-up question. Is it Sina? Yeah, Bobby Sina. What's the proper search volume range for grouping keywords? So we just went over this in the presentation.
Yeah, I would say, like, just if they're similar, group them together. There's really no guidelines. If you see something that's 20,000, 19,000, 15,000, 14,000, I don't know, put those together. If you see like 10, 7, 6, 5, put those together. There's no like real guidelines. Yeah,
it depends on the keyword research that you're doing. You're using Magnet, you're using Cerebro, you're doing a good solid list. Well, just look at the search volumes, sort them by search volume, right? And then put them into blocks and say, okay, these are at the top of the page if you're ranking it, but if you're sorting it by high volume. And then based on what we just said, you should really only put, like, if they're really super high volume, you should only have 5 of those keywords. So boom, at the top of the page of the keywords that you generated in your Excel sheet, that's your first grouping. And then your next grouping is maybe 10 keywords. And then your next grouping is maybe another 10 keywords, and your next grouping is maybe 20 because they're really lower volume. So it's not so much the search volume itself. It's the search volume of whatever keywords you are wanting to target that you have to look at, high to low. So hope that makes sense. As one asks, great tips. Is there a way to delete inactive PPC campaigns? Yeah, you archive them. Yeah, if you have an inactive PPC campaign and you don't want to run that PPC campaign ever again, then I'm assuming it's already paused because you're saying it's inactive. So if you really want to make sure that PPC campaign never comes back, then you archive it. So just look into your Seller Central. If you're using ads, you can also archive campaigns there. It's typically a little trash can icon. So look for that. You'll get a warning. Amazon will say, "Hey, do you really want to archive this campaign?" If you do that, though, you're not able to get that campaign back ever again. You're not able to, and I don't think you're even able to look at the data anymore once you archive a campaign. So only do that if you're really trying to be protective of your campaigns. I would think, Usman, like why are you asking this question is kind of the more important thing that I would want to know. Like, why are you looking to archive?
I think maybe to just
PPC campaigns.
Campaign up, maybe clean the campaign manager up.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
but you can always just filter. You can add a filter, and it says like hide all inactive campaigns or paused campaigns or whatever.
Yeah,
and it'll hide it, and you only see what's active.
Yeah, so maybe that's it. So hopefully, maybe that filter tip is what you're needing. Any new PPC strategies or hacks to share? Oh, we got someone from Instagram.
Hacks.
Of course, we get this question like with 6 minutes to go. So we shared a lot of strategies on this call regarding campaign setup and things like that. I would say one it's not really a hack, but I'll just share really quickly. If you guys do have access to sponsored display campaigns, late last fall and actually the end of January, they opened this particular feature up to everybody. But in sponsored display campaigns, product targeting campaigns, actually no, both product targeting and audience targeting. If you know what sponsored display campaigns are, you know what I'm talking about. If you don't, then ignore what I'm saying right now. But make sure you use the enhanced creative. There's a new option now to add custom creative for sponsored display. You can add a headline and a logo, very similar to sponsored brand ads, where you can add a headline and a creative, an image and things like that. So in sponsored display, you also have that capability to customize the way your creative looks. definitely take advantage of that. If you're running sponsored display campaigns that are the regular version, the ones with the enhanced creative definitely get better results. I've ran some case studies on this recently, and those enhanced creatives show 20 to 30% greater sales performance than the standard sponsored display campaign. So that's a hack, I suppose. What about you?
No hacks. It's just build a really good system on how to run PPC and just work, and continuously optimize and launch new campaigns, and over time it'll work.
Yeah, no, that's a good one. Let's see. It asks, how will you set up campaign for new launch? Can you share with us your best strategy? So within our tool ads that we have here at Helium 10 that I helped build, the new launch is, we suggest a minimum of 3 campaigns. So this is minimum, right? So you're going to want to launch an auto campaign. You're going to want to launch at least a campaign with broad keywords in it. And you're going to want to launch at least a campaign with broad or phrase, actually. And then you're going to want to launch a campaign with exact match keywords. So that's a bare minimum for a product. Our tool does that all 3 at once. If you want to build those out really quickly, make sure you're doing your keyword research ahead of time, and that you're putting, the keywords that you're putting in there are the right search volumes, that they're very similar search volumes, exactly how we've been telling you guys here in this episode. And that's the minimum. And setting the ACoS is high, right? That's the other strategy that we talked about. Go shoot for 100% ACoS. Shoot for, I'm going to spend this much, but I'm going to make this much back. So it's going to even out, and that's what 100% ACoS means, is that you're not spending any more than the sales that you're making. But that's one of the best ways to make sure that you get all the data that you need over the first month to 6 weeks to 2 months to then see which keywords, which search terms are converting for you, and then drill that down. The other one minimum that I do suggest is at least a product targeting campaign. So, doing your ASIN research, using Cerebra, using X-Ray, visually looking at ASINs that are appearing in search results if you want to do that, and targeting targeting listings, product listings, so detail pages of other products. When you guys are shopping on Amazon and you go on a listing that you want to take a look at, a product you want to take a look at, you go on that page in Amazon, you see a bunch of ads, right? So it's not only the search results where there's ads all over the actual listing itself. Those are product targeting campaigns. And each campaign type has a version of product targeting, but at the bare minimum, sponsored products, product targeting campaign, to make sure that you're also seen on those product listings. What about you, Mina? Any other minimum requirements you think?
Yeah, I mean, everything you said. Generally, my campaign structure is main keywords, top 10 keywords. I now started doing my top 10 keywords, 1 keyword per campaign. So I have 33 campaigns right off the bat. Yeah, 33 campaigns just for keywords. Wow. I'll target, broad phrase and exact my own ASIN. Broad phrase and exact my own keywords like MMA, nutrition, hydrolyte, whatever.
Sure, brand keywords.
Brand keywords, and then I'll do targeting my own ASINs. I'll do category refined campaigns. So I'll go into product target campaigns, category, and then refine it so that's 3 stars or less and more expensive than me. Yep. So you get the low hanging fruit. And I'll find keywords and products that are very closely related to mine, and I'll target them as well, just to kind of build the Amazon relevancy. And from there, I'll wait a couple of weeks. I started waiting a couple of weeks.
Yeah,
I started waiting a couple of weeks before launching auto, just to get a lot of relevance right off the gate, and then launch the auto. I segregate the auto as close match, loose match, complements, and substitutes, 4 separate campaigns, and then launch all of those.
Yeah, so that's super advanced. He's breaking things out by match types, targeting types. So you guys, you can go minimum. Hey, Bradley. Yes, you do know us. You could go the minimum requirements, like I just said, which was just 4 campaigns, or you can do 33 campaigns. Like
just 33, more like 40 campaigns.
Okay, 40 campaigns. So it really is. At the end of the day, it's how aggressive do you want to be with your PPC? I gave you the minimum. He gave you the maximum. So it really kind of is like where you fall like in between. that's what you got to decide for yourself. So thanks you guys for joining us today. We're at our hour. I want to respect Mina's time, unless you have a few more minutes. I mean, we do have a couple more questions. Do you want to go for it?
I'm down. Yeah, I feel it's a few more minutes from an hour.
All right. So you guys, if you want to follow us on Instagram, they're in there now. Mina's the Egyptian prescription.
Let's go.
Elias, he's our MMA PPC fighter.
PPC fighter. I'm a PPC fighter.
MMA PPC fighter. And you can follow me at evinced1. And for anyone that can tell me what evinced1 means, I'll give you a PPC consultation, because
oh wow,
no one actually has figured that out yet. So let's follow up with just a couple more. Let's look at Richard's question right after Bradley. I think he kind of got skipped. What's the most impactful functionality that came along with the process on integration? That's a good question. So the one thing that I will say that's going to be the biggest benefit to our combined platforms, which we'll have an announcement on next month, is Presses On has a lot of rules in the background that so let's say the ads platform runs on 20 different rules. Presses On's runs on 30 different rules, right? So now there's more fine-tuned rules regarding suggestions. So the suggestions that we're going to be giving you guys once the platforms are combined are even going to be just even more finely tuned. So that's the one thing that you guys will benefit from, absolutely. On the back end, what I'm excited about is simply that the way that they created and stored their data was much more efficient than the way we did it in ads. So the tool, the platform is going to be faster. So if you guys have been using ads and you've seen, the download times, maybe taking a little bit longer in some instances, that is something that should be addressed with the combined platform. So I'm looking forward to that as well. Let's see. One more from Usman.
Does anyone know about the new name that's coming?
They do not know about the new name that's coming. So if you do know it, don't share it.
I won't share it, but
okay. Yeah.
Cool.
It's a pretty cool name.
With it, and it's very cool.
I like it. it. All right. Last one from Usman. Actually, I've already archived the inactive campaigns, but still they are showing in a campaign manager. Now, I did make a separate portfolio for other inactive campaigns to organize. Okay, so he answered our question, what he was looking to do. So if you've already archived the inactive campaigns, but they're still showing up in the campaign manager, then Isman, if you're talking about if they're showing up in ads, and then it depends on the time frame, right? So if you're looking at this in ads and you're looking at an older time frame, and if those archived campaigns had data in that time frame, ads is going to show it to you, right? So even though it's archived, you still want to see the data because the data has actually happened on those days. So the only reason you wouldn't want to see those data is on the days where after you archived it. So the only issue that you have is if there's data showing up for archived campaigns after you've archived them, right? So you don't need to make separate portfolios for inactive campaigns or anything like that. An archived campaign, it doesn't do anything anymore. So if you're seeing something different, at least in the ads tool, make sure you reach out to support, take some screenshots, send those in. But I don't think that's what's happening. I think you're saying in our campaign manager, you're still seeing those campaigns. Well, yeah, because the date that you're putting in, those archived campaigns might have still had data. So it's relevant. So even in Seller Central, if you've got a certain time frame on and you have the match type all, so show me all campaigns. So whatever the date that you put in, it's going to show you the data from all campaigns, archived, enabled, paused, or you can filter it and it show you just the archived or just the enabled or just the paused, right? So you can do the same thing in our ads tool, but don't be confused that just because you're seeing the data still there show up, that those campaigns are somehow now active or performing, if that makes sense. All right. That is it for us today. Thank you so much, Mina, for coming on and doing this advanced session. And we'll have to come back. We'll have to have you back on sometime in the near future. If you guys have questions that we didn't get to, if you've got topics that you'd like me to cover, let us know. ppcama@helium10.com. Again, this is just an inbox email. Don't send emails to this asking for detailed questions to like analyze your PPC account. That's not what's going to happen. Unfortunately, these will get filtered to me, and then we'll look for questions that we can answer like we did at the beginning of this episode. Or if it's topics, again, we'll be able to kind of fine tune those and give you guys things that you're looking for. So thank you so much for joining us. Make sure if you want to see the slides again, if you want to get into the detail about the campaign structures that Mina just went through, watch the replay and make sure that you guys are set up for success. All right. Thanks, Mina. Any last words?
Keep killing it, guys.
Keep crushing it. Thanks, guys.